What's up, troops? How y'all doing? This is Stand Up for Vets Who Code number 2. So first and foremost, today I have to do a crazy task. This big old box right here was sent to me from Google. I gotta set it up and prep for my People of AI podcast with them tomorrow. So that's a fun thing that I have to work on. But without further ado, let's get into the things that have been done over the course of the past week, my weekly sprint. So for Vets Who Code, two things I did that I was supposed to do is the media page. So now you go to Vets Who Code and you go to engage, you have media, and now you have a search, you can filter, and you can filter by type, all in on our page. And what this does, the problem for this, the users for this is supporters or prospective supporters, right? Having a page, I don't know. Here's how I look at it, is that people have gotten, very TikTokable, right? It got 3 seconds across the board, even the older people. So now, you have to have your brag, you have to essentially, for the nonprofit, create a brag document that is there, that is living. You have to put everything on that website that is there, which is super, it's not a problem in the end. Like, okay, I used to think, why do people not do their own research? But I also understand that's part of my neurodivergence. I can sit here and read, boring stuff or do research on something I'm interested in for like hours, right? You can ask me anything about any striking combat art on the planet, from Pinjak Salat to, Shaolin Long Fist Kung Fu to Muay Thai. I can answer that stuff for you because I'm a weird, dictionary of combat sports and martial arts, because that interests me. That's interested me since I was like 4. Whereas, other things, not so much. So we're taking that work out of it. So now you just throw a link, send it to people. Now, you all know that there's more than just 2 pieces of 2 articles out there. I put 1 podcast, 1 article there for the whole purpose of being able to have examples for the troops, right? I built this using the technologies that we already have, which is Tailwind, MDX, and Next.js, right? And what this does is this creates an opportunity for me to build tickets to add things under a tag and other material, so that troops that are trying to get back in the game, that want to get, start smaller tickets for them, right? And that's part of being, a more senior, leader, senior software engineer. Part of my job is to create opportunities, right, for people to get velocity and get comfortable, right? I think that is something that has been lost in tech, or when people, we coming from the older school of technology, there wasn't a lot of empathy and equity and onboarding through, crawl, walk, run philosophies in tech. It was like, throw you in the deep end, and if you don't swim, you're fired. That's not what I want to do. I want to create small tickets that get people comfortable with making a PRs, finishing a task, checking out a branch, finishing a task, making the PR, having the PR reviewed, and then, seeing it live, right? And then, after 3 or 4 of those, that's going to build their confidence. And maybe I can do something a little more meaty, or maybe I can do something a little heavier, right? The people that start with these small tickets, within 2, 3 months, they'll be doing super meaty, super, heavy tickets that is going to really make them, grow as software engineers. But you got to have them be able to start somewhere, right? They have to, give them the opportunity to be able to get the app running, give them an opportunity to, do something small that isn't going to destroy the application, and then, build their confidence up. It's just like anything else, which is very weird when I think about software engineering in general. We do not treat software engineering like we treat everything else on the planet, which is like, or every other high ticket thing on the planet. When it comes to, like, for instance, sports, we focus on, building people up first before we put them in the pros, getting them comfort, getting them experience, practicing that. Like, we have to, I think, adopt that if we want more high impact work, high impact technical workers and technical talent, right? So that is what this media features does. It helps it helps user one, which is our prospective donors and supporters, and it helps our troops, which is I like to call, well, actually the troops are user one, and donors are user two. But it's also forward facing, so they can have something to point directly to when they're talking to their employers or prospective employers, or on LinkedIn, things like that. They could screenshot it and post it there as they're helping populate. And they're like, this website over the course of 10 years has done, if we raise about on average $50,000 a year, 50 times 10, it's quite a bit of money, right? Even though that's still not as much money as some of these other orgs are raising a year. What happens is, being able to say you pushed a product of that financial, or you were trusted to push to a product of that financial gain, that helps with your resume. That's one of the reasons why the VetSuko web application is not just a tool to say what we do, but it's also an opportunity to, like, help our software engineers grow, which is, my goal, always been my goal, is to create a product that veterans, military spouses can push to, because I saw a direct one-on-one correlation in my experiences in tech with how my opportunities rose because I had a product that was able to be pushed to, right? So I'm, replicating that at scale. Like, hey, yo, push to this. I know how much money I've been able to make as a software engineer because I've been pushing to this regularly, and it's a lot easier to try to figure out what type of pitly projects to do, where versus, let's just focus on a feature, go from there, right? So, like, that is what I highly recommend. Second thing I did was the GitHub Issue Templates for VetSuko troops. One of the things that I was very problematic on was that I felt that I was not doing a service to, was I wasn't making it easier for people to make issues. So now if you go to the VetSuko web application, go to issues, say new issue, you'll get one of these opportunities: bug report, feature request, task, or go to the VetSuko community support. Right? If you have any questions, issues, things of that nature, you can go here. And, you can fill out a ticket, right? I just want to make it easier for people to go through that process, especially if you're new, you might not know how to do an issue. And this is what will help you get there. Like, now I can do a small ticket of, like, hey, we need to update the README on these types of things so people will know. But that was it. Now, the other things that I created that we built had absolutely nothing to do with the what was on the board, which kind of comes to a conversation or a thought process that I've been having over the past 2 weeks. We've been seeing in tech, particularly, the productivity matrix of leveraging AI instead of the creativity matrix, right? I like to think of, or at least I like to think of it. I'm not looking for the right word of it for it. But the problem that I am seeing is instead of us doing more, we're trying to build this base of this metric of how much work is getting done with less people because of AI, instead of trying to figure out how much more work we can be doing or what other features that aren't on the roadmap we could be touching with AI because we have these tools. So it's like doing the same amount of work with less people instead of being like, well, there's infinite amount of work. Like, and I get that from the Google DeepMind team. They were like, and it's very funny to hear a CEO, someone in leadership say that because that's not being reflected in leaders across the board. There's a clear, as I like to say, there's a clear separation between the people with MBAs who can't think like programmers and the people with computer science degrees or tech backgrounds who can think like programmers. They're like, there's infinite problems. The programmers are like, there's infinite problems to solve. We can use AI to, solve more problems. Whereas MBA nerds are like, hey, well, let's look at the Excel sheet and see how we can get the same numbers with less people. And it's very problematic. You're going to see a divergence soon of the companies that are just doing the same old with less people and people who are doing great work, amazing work because they're implementing AI to solve more problems, not to just build up keep the same flow, same pace of productivity or more productivity with less amount of people or same amount of people, right? So, in my own background, what I just did, let me go here. I took this and I made a code quality scorer. Uh, didn't need to. It wasn't on a docket. It wasn't something that we had to. But because I remember doing an experiment like this at work, and it never really got into people there were talks about it and stuff, but nothing really big. I was like, let me create a mini version of that using just YAML into our Next.js web application, so the troops can know what can happen, as well as gives us the opportunity to come up with new, more work. Right? Like now, like Vetsu Code, based upon like this app is 3-4 years old, and it was scored at 5.8 out of 10. So right in the middle, a little over the middle, but we could do way better. And that gives me an opportunity to go and sit down and write tickets for instance, for those who are like closer to mid and senior, talk about refactoring code, things of that nature, instead of, build this piddly little thing. Here's a meaty ticket that requires, you to be able to read the code, refactor the code, focus on this scoring. I actually have to update the scoring because Marcy and she's going to come and she's going to kick my butt because one of the scoring parameters that should be in here is accessibility, but it's not. It's performance, readability, scalability, and we should always be looking for accessibility as well. So I'm definitely going to add that as a to-do. But that was just one of the things that I was able to do that wasn't on the list of work to get done for this sprint, that just popped in my head. And I was like, let's do it. Right? Because I'm coding with AI. I'm able to, come through these and solve these problems that we weren't thinking. I'm doing, instead of doing the same amount of work faster, instead of doing the same amount of work faster, I'm now doing more work, right? I'm doing better work. I'm solving problems for people that I'm normally not thinking that I have the time to go and research but I'm optimized. That's what AI is supposed to do. That's how you're supposed to treat it. That users are not, some companies are not working that way. In the next 5 years, we're going to see huge divergence in the Fortune 10, Fortune 50, Fortune 500. There's going to be changes just because of how they view work with AI. And those who view work with AI in this format are going to be the ones that win. So was able to do that, and then was able to create our theory of change. So Betsu Code needed a theory of change. For this is only for donor one, right? And donor, this isn't even a page that really like is plain. It's whatever. It's easy. Like I can spruce it up, but I don't want to because I want to make it as plain and simple because that's what the theory of change is supposed to be. It's used for like grants and grant makers to, be able to show what you're doing. And it's a necessary page when you're starting to go towards grants and grant makers. Like, y'all know, I am not a big fan of schmoozing and things of that nature. I'm a big fan of building cool things, right? Like with AI, all I can think about is all of the nonprofits that are doing things in a fractured manner that we can cannibalize and add to Vetsu Code and build products. Not just about teaching veterans how to write software, but building products just for veterans, right? And doing it in a better way because we're veterans first and software engineers second. And without, getting in the way of without having like the bureaucracy and stuff going on. But this is part of the things I have to do. Loathe it. I'm not liking it, but whatever. But it leads to like a cool, awesome announcement. We were accepted as one of 6 nonprofits to work with Candid. Now, Candid and GuideStar, they're the ones that let you know, which nonprofits are good, which nonprofits you should work with, and things of that nature. I tell people all the time, don't ask us what we do when it comes to like those code school things, because those code school like groups, they're focused on people that, have to pay for stuff. Like if you want us to start charging you, that's a different conversation, a different story. However, with us, you look at GuideStar and Candid, and we have a 2025, 2024 level of transparency seal with them. They love us. We were one of 6 nonprofit orgs chosen to, start implementing and using their AI tools and technologies, implementing that, their processes, and they're going to pay us for it, which is super cool. To be able to get that stuff, send it straight to the nonprofit and just be like, hey, thank you for, helping us build AI, for helping us make our AI tools to help smaller organizations with grant funding and finding and doing all that, sales and development work, not sales development, I guess donor development work. Because if you're a veteran, like there are two really, it scales 2 different ways. There's the nonprofits that are great with raising money and doing the crap that we really don't want to do. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The golf tournaments, the poker tournaments, the galas, all the stuff that ain't really veteran at all. And then you go and start asking for the metrics in correlation to how much money they've raised. And you start looking, deep diving. It's like the amount of money you raise versus the amount of output of positive outcomes to the community. It's not adding up, right? Every veteran can name like one organization that's doing that. That you're like, what the hell? Like, what's going on? Where versus organizations like ours, where we lead with our outcomes because our outcomes are so amazing, right? Where we have one of the highest ROIs for dollar to outcomes in the market, right? To the point where we just get one, I think it's actually, if we get 4 veterans jobs a year, it would match for-profit outcomes. We've already beaten, if we just get 4 veterans a job in software engineering a year, we would literally beat equal outcomes to the for-profit programs, so like General Assembly, Hack Reactor. So like that's just how good our metrics are. Like, we don't even have to do, if we just did 4, we would have better outcomes per dollar, than the, $1 million organizations based on how much money we raise, which is wild when you think about that. But, we lead with our outcomes over 10 years. You know how much money we've put in the United States economy. You know how many veterans we've helped. You know the accolades that we've gotten from presidents to, Fortune 10, yeah, that's where we're at right now. We're kind of getting at Fortune 10, Fortune 5 organizations. They're the ones that are talking about us. So when it comes to our work. So that's what's really led to this opportunity, is being able to work with them and be like, hey, we see you guys doing good work, and you also are expert in AI, and you take all of the things that we need to look at to make this program next. So we're very happy to be able to work with them. But that just showcases what happens when you put the work first versus put, donor relations first, or just donations, because we are able to focus on really just helping people and doing good work. So, but yeah, that's it for this week's stand-up. If you like anything you hear, if you're not a veteran, please, as you see, 155 days for our demo day and platform launch. So we're going to be able to do a lot more with veterans soon, but we need your help. If you can donate. If you can't, share our message. We have our donate form right here, our page. You see our impact. You see where our donation impact we're asking for. $1,000 we'll be able, once we're able, our goal is to be able to support upwards to 4,000 veterans a year. $1,000 can help do that, right? Like, being able to raise that type of money, plus with AI resources for them a year, so they'll be able to talk to Jody and just unlimited, right? That's our goal, right? Google is helping us with a lot of experience, exposure, resources for that, but that is something that is really helping us do that type where we act. And we also have real people that you can talk to. You can go look them on LinkedIn, ask them their experience at Sukkot, right? And that is what, that's what we're about here. This is what we want to do. But without further ado, I'm not going to hold you guys any longer. I'm going to let you guys go. Have a great Sukkot day.